Kia ora, guys. Welcome back to episode 3 of Grief to Growth. We've had a big morning, but, so grateful you guys are here along on this journey. And if you're still with us,
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm ready.
Okay, cool.
Thank God, because then what was the point in us coming here?
You'd hope you're
Yeah,
ready.
Exactly. You hope you were bloody ready. Come on, Paige.
It's,
Kia kaha, Paige.
But late for that now.
Yeah. Kia kaha.
Let's run it home.
Sorry, Jade. Back to you.
Okay, well, take us back to that day then, when you're ready.
I think when people reflect back on trauma or the day that their life changed forever, people tend to black out. And people tend to not remember that day or the moment that it happened. And in my case, I remember everything. I remember the sounds. I remember where Kawariki was. I remember what I was doing. But I've chosen these past 4 years to really block out that experience because it was so traumatizing. I didn't feel the need to have to go back to that moment either. So I'm just asking the audience just to be patient with me as I revisit, the day that Shawnee had passed and how I was told and where I was and just revisiting everything. But I do feel there's a purpose for that. I feel it's important for people to know not only the good parts, but actually the really tough and hard parts in my journey and what I've experienced. So I'm ready to revisit that day again and talk about it because I believe that this is a step forward in my own healing. As much as I've done well on my own, I feel that this is a moment where I can acknowledge and move forward. We're based in Hamilton. And Sean's based in Bay of Plenty, so the Mount for rugby during NPC season. And it was his first year there because it was closer to home. It was only an hour drive back home. And, he loved whenever he got time off, he would just go straight home. Or even in the afternoon off, he'd come straight home. And I was at home with Kawariki. Arahia was in Wellington at the time. Taya was living with us at that point in time, and the night before or the morning of, I woke up from a bad dream. I got jolted awake. And in the dream was an ambulance. I just remember hearing sirens. It was like an ambulance. And I thought nothing of it, got up, went to go get a drink of water, and came back to bed. And that was so vividly, I remember it was like 4:20 in the morning. And then I didn't think anything of it, went back to bed. And that morning, usually my husband would ring me by then, 100%. Again, we've touched on it. He was an incredible communicator. We always loved being in communication with each other, despite the distance. And I hadn't heard from him. This was unlike him. And Kawariki was playing in the lounge. time was going on, and I was a bit concerned. I was a bit worried because he wasn't replying or answering his phone. And I remember Kawariki was in the lounge playing with the iPad and then watching TV, and then he had some toys on the ground too. And I remember I messaged his mum like, "Oh, hey, have you heard from Shawnee?" And this by point was probably about 10 in the morning. And she goes, no, I haven't, love. No, but let me know when you hear from him. And then I was just doing the dishes, and I heard the 3 knocks on my front door. They were so loud. I remember they're just heavy. Like, this wasn't a petite knock. It was like thunder. And I remember going to the front door, opening it up. And at my front door were 2 policemen. They were big policemen. And I remember thinking, the first thought was, oh shit, they snapped me without a rego. Like, I don't.
Your first thought.
It was my first thought. I thought,
Fair enough.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh. But then I remember looking back at them, and I just took one look at their face and knew that wasn't a face of someone that you're in trouble. It was head down, arms crossed, and they said to me, "Are you Paige?" And straight away I said yes. And they go, "Can we come in, please?" And before I could think of a reason no, even though I probably wouldn't have said no, I said yeah. And I sort of rushed inside, and they were behind me. The lounge is there, Kawariki's right there, and I sort of come around by the couch. And then the next question to me is anyone home with you, Paige? And I remember my body just going into straight fight or flight mode before my mind could even catch on. It was like my body knew before my mind could catch up, and I felt like the ground beneath me was going to fall out. It's like my body knew, but my mind was confused. And then I started screaming, Taya, come now. Taya, I remember screaming. And then I started just shaking, because I knew this wasn't a look of, I looked back at them and it was not a look of, hey, it was dead serious, head down, arms crossed, genuine concern. And I remember looking back at them, and I felt like forever, even though Taya was running to me, it felt like the longest seconds. And then one of the policemen says to me, "I'm sorry to say, but your husband has been in a tragic accident and has passed away on the scene." And I just remember my whole soul left my body. Like, it truly was like an out-of-body experience. Like, I was standing and looking at me because I had no control of my body. And I remember just letting out the biggest screaming to them like, no, he's not gone. And I remember turning to Koriki, and he's screaming, and I made him scared because I was screaming so loud, and I had no control over my body, all the words or anything that was coming out. It just was like the total trauma of hearing those words was like, there is no way. There is no way my husband has passed away. And I remember screaming into him, saying, no, go and get him. He is so strong. I remember saying, he is so strong. He'll get through anything. You just need to take him to hospital. He will make it. And I was begging with the policeman, like, just, no, your time is running out. You need to go and take him. And they just looked at me like, there's nothing we can do. And I remember thinking, no, you don't know my husband. I was like fighting with this policeman, like, no, you don't understand him like I do. He's strong. He's the strongest man I know. And he'll make it. You just need to take him. You know, like, when I think about that moment, within seconds, my life just switched. Both of us died that day. The only difference is I'm the one still breathing. I was never the same person and after that moment. Changed me forever. And I never truly knew what it felt to have no control until that moment. Everything you thought to believe, everything you thought you had for your future, switched, gone. Seconds. And in that moment, I remember not even feeling it. There was no sadness, there was no anger, there was no grief. It was pure just pain. It was pain, just straight 1,000 knives just stabbing you at once. Even then, I would have thought that's nowhere near the pain and mental, emotional pain I was going through. And it was hard because you didn't have him there. So, you know, I didn't really believe it, you know, but at the same time, my body was just like, I was out of control. I was literally, I think at one point I was jumping up and down on my knees because I was just so like, I don't.
You were.
Yeah. And I remember just screaming with him saying like, you need to go and get him. And it's crazy what, you know, grief and trauma does to somebody because I thought I had control. I had no control over my husband's passing. I had no control over my body, my emotions. I don't know how you were feeling that day, Taya, but holy heck.
Yeah, it's actually, it's really hard to think back to that day because it's and we don't talk about it like, you know, all the time, but it's quite traumatic. Like, the way you screamed, like, you never want to hear someone scream the way you screamed when you found out. Like, and in that moment, I could only comfort you or Kawariki. And so you're screaming, he's crying because he's scared because he's, you know, your mum is, you know, something's wrong with mum. Like, she's not okay. Mum is not all right. Like, and so I grabbed him and I was holding him, but I couldn't hold you too. So it was quite difficult in that moment, obviously, just the three of us there. But I wanted to hold you because you were just everywhere. You were bouncing up and down on your knees. You couldn't sit still. Yeah. And I think as well, you know, they phrased it fatal. And I don't know, in that moment, I didn't know. I would think I was in shock. So that word, I just like forgot the meaning. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I actually had to clarify with the police officer. And these two police officers, they were just lovely. Like, they were beautiful. Like, the way that they delivered, yes. You know, they were so respectful. The way they came into our home, we felt so safe. It was not like we felt bombarded or nothing. They were so, but you could see on their face. And yeah. I really did have to clarify, sorry, are we going to the hospital. Like, is he in the hospital or is, and they clarified, and that's when it all just sort of hit, and it was just a huge shock. Absolutely. And I remember you mentioning that morning, I haven't heard from him. And I thought, that's not like you guys at all. Like, you guys are constantly in contact. Like, you're never not on FaceTime, you know? And so it was a bit surprising, but, you know, whatever. Yeah. Like, I'm sure he'll call soon, you know? So, I mean, it's hard talking about that day. I can't imagine what it is like for you. It would dredge up a lot for you. But that was really tough.
I think I'm just so grateful that you were there in that moment, and I had someone to be able to and from that moment you were like delegation queen, my PA, because I could not function. And
no, that's the day I took your phone. Yeah, and I pretty much had it.
Yeah, pretty much had it, and did everything, comms, everything. And you know, to touch on the police officers, you know, they did it with the utmost respect, and you could see it was really actually hurting them.
Tough for them too.
It was tough for them.
Yeah,
and that's not easy. And I know one of the other police officers took Kawariki into the other room and had cartoons on for him. And I remember that, and I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah. He thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Did. Yeah.
He was like, oh my God, a police officer is literally watching cartoons with me. Like, this is... Like, he was so happy, so comfortable. And thank goodness, because then, you know, I could be there with you. And then it, you know, just separated him so he can go into another room and not sort of be around for all of,
Yeah. And I think it was hard because the other police officer that stayed with me too, you know, he mentioned to me, you know, I'm so sorry. You know, my stepson, you know, his favourite player is Sean, and, you know, you know, and it just, when I reflect back on it, just like, those are the types of people Shawnee had an impact on and made a difference, you know. The fact that that person, a police officer, said that in that moment, even though I'm just not even there, I reflect back on that and I really appreciate that he felt he could share that with, because that was really special, you know, despite the trauma I was going through. It was more than just a job for him. He did his job incredibly well, but there was a personal touch, and I think in that moment I just didn't want like anyone to come into my space. It was like, okay, it's a job, it's done, I'll move on to the next.
Another number.
Just another, you know. So in the moments after, I was just crying, just holding our photo. And then the next step, I think, was to ring my family. I think you rung them. Look, I was not even...
That was one of the first things we did, was we called Mum.
Yeah.
And you guys just happened to all be home.
Yeah, I was working from home that day. And Mum took the phone call in a room, and then like similar situation, the scream. Never heard Mum scream like that before. And that's one of those screams where, you know, like your heart just sinks, you know, and obviously we didn't know who it was, but you knew something bad really happened, is going to happen or has happened. And I remember us running into the room. Nico ran up.
You just happened to all be home, eh?
We all happened to be home.
I was
Yeah.
late for school.
Yeah.
I don't mean to laugh about that, but it actually was the perfect timing to be late.
Yeah,
I'm glad you were.
Yeah,
like
as you said,
that.
yeah, just that scream was insane. It echoed.
Yeah.
And it just, you knew you had to get up right, you know, there and now to Mum, and oh man,
Yeah.
I think it was just the same as the reaction. Oh, not, you know, the reaction you had, but it was it just knew, oh my God, this is going to be.
Heart sunk, yeah. So we both ran into the room pretty much at the same time. And like, Taya, man, like you would never think that what just happened. She was just, because I remember seeing her, Mum was on the FaceTime, Taya was on the screen, and she was so calm.
Yeah.
And she was so just talking to Mum and just had everything together. She was just honestly amazing. Even just seeing it from the screen from friggin' 500 Ks away, like you could just feel that she was just, even though I remember looking at her, I'm like, how are you okay right now? Like it was insane. But obviously we found out, and I just remember like dropping to the door and just like dropping down and just thinking, no way. I didn't believe it, actually. I didn't believe it in those moments. But our straight away, our reaction was we got to get up there. Well, actually, no, we heard Paigey in the background saying, come here, get here right now, just screaming in the background. And we all knew like we had to go.
Yeah. I was like, get here now.
Yeah.
Like, get on the first flight.
Yeah.
And it felt like it took ages, but really when we worked out the time, I mean, time was...
Oh, so I think we found out maybe at around 11ish.
Yeah, it was
we were up in Hamilton by 2.
Yeah.
We got like the 1 o'clock flight. Like it was crazy. Like we got literally the next flight out of Wellington.
But those hours felt like days.
Yeah.
Like even though you got there so fast.
Yeah.
We just needed our whole family around us in that moment.
Yeah.
And so who came up first?
So it was me, Nico. We had to go. We picked up Arahia. So on our way to the airport, we had to pick up Arahia from her dad's whānau.
That was probably the hardest bit. In that day, in that time,
we had to tell her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she just, like, oh man, when she got into that car, and we were all just, we were in our own, we were dealing it with in our own ways. So we didn't really talk, we didn't talk to each other. You couldn't, because we didn't have any words to say to each other. And then to kind of have to correlate with Arahia, it was just like, man, what can you tell her? Like, what do you say to her?
How do you say
in that moment?
Yeah.
I'm dying. Like we're all dying. Like what can we tell this young girl that just, has lost her father?
Yeah.
So I think, just sorry, I didn't want to, but I just wanted to go on the fact that was a
tough moment.
I actually think about that. Really, you guys were the ones that would have had to tell her first, and
yeah.
I think it was Dad, but Dad through that situation as well, and that's where I think you get it from. Is where Taya gets it from. Is just that calmness and that ability to go to someone, and these two of them, just that ability to be calm in situations that are absolutely terrible. And I think Dad really helped in those situations.
Especially like being in that turmoil and you just need one person to look to for strength. And Taya was that. She was so collected, calm, and just a weapon in terms of
what do we need to do?
What do we need to do? Like an action and to make the situation as a up situation. But how can we get Paige what she needs, get our whānau here, the right people are being told. And then I was on the couch and I was thinking like trying to process it all still. And then boom, New Zealand Herald or media stuff, it was out. And I think it was within...
We were
driving, trying to notify whānau.
We were driving there.
We
were driving there. And the thing came, because we started getting messages.
Yeah.
When we were driving to the house. Yeah, it was so quick.
No idea. I had how the hell.
We did get a heads up from the officers. They did mention that there. So I was watching stuff. Like I was watching all that, waiting for something to pop up. But we were still trying to notify whānau, and it was also like lockdown.
Yeah.
Well, especially in Auckland, so it was quite difficult. You couldn't move around.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. And then it just was all in. And then I gave Teo my phone, and I was, from that on. And then I think the next movements, we had Sean's whānau come and support us through that too, which Tim and Aroha and their beautiful kids were incredible, like amazing. And again, a whānau that in those types of spaces, even though they've just lost, their beautiful whānau member, like their cousin, and it was hard for them, but they were just wrapping their arms around us. And, I couldn't think of any other more beautiful people to have in that moment. So I really, really appreciate that whānau, the Wainui Mako whānau. And then the next movement was, I just remember kept saying, I need him. You need to be by him. I need him. Yeah. I need to go by him.
And that's the only thing we were thinking about in that moment.
But, and I was just like, get in the car, we're going. Yeah. And then I got calls from people you did saying you can't cross the border.
You
can't. And I'm just like, fuck the border. Excuse my language, but fuck that border. I'm going to see my husband. Like, are you kidding? Like, I did not care, but we had to pull over at Z. And I remember going to the toilet because I was, busted. And I remember I couldn't even stand, really. And I remember going to the bathroom and there were people coming in and out looking at me in horror, really. And I remember looking at them like, can we swap places? Like, I was literally like, this is like, how do you get to carry on about your day and my world's just ended? This is just, it was unreal. It was like movie type out of body experience. And once we got the okay to go over, I had my babies with, they weren't in my car because it wasn't good for them to see mummy like that. But when we drove over, I was just screaming the whole time. It was unreal. And then when we arrived at the funeral home, it was in the Mount. And when we arrived, I remember sitting in the car and everyone had got out and, was ready to go in. And I remember not wanting to leave the car, but also wanted nothing more to rush in and be by hubby. But I remember sitting there. I remember sitting in the front seat, not wanting to get out because I said to myself, if I get out, then this makes it all real. Up until this point, someone could have easily just come in and gone, jokes, psych. What a messed up joke that would have been, but I would much prefer that I prayed for someone just to come and go, we're kidding. But I knew, like, once I left the car, there's no turning back. And I remember getting out and I couldn't walk. So I was being carried by, whānau in. And then I remember looking at the funeral director standing by the front door, arms crossed, at the front. And I remember looking at him like, you can tell me that I'm not the right person that should be here. But he was dead serious too. I'm like, someone come out, tell me this is all shit. Like, and just the look on someone else's face that hadn't been in my bubble was like making it all too real. And then I remember he said to me, just through that door. And then when I went through, I didn't want to go through, But I remember opening the door and I remember seeing him and I remember thinking, like, just grabbing him and saying, like, wake up, wake up. You're not gone, you're not gone, you're not gone. You can't leave me here. Like, I need you, I need you, I need you. I just keep saying, I need you. I can't live here without you. And I... He looks so peaceful. He looks beautiful. He looks so peaceful. But but in that moment, it was real. My worst nightmare came true, and that's a kind of scar you just never. It will never leave you. It will never leave you. But it's okay to acknowledge that time and move forward. I will always carry that moment, but it doesn't mean I need to dwell on the day that he passed. And that's why I always said in my moments of his anniversary and his passing date, I'd much rather celebrate his birthday than the passing date. But it's important to acknowledge this today, and the grief and the pain and everything when you lose someone. And I think from that moment, everything felt real, but I remember not wanting to leave him. I just didn't want to leave him. Like, there's just no way. We were inseparable. We did everything together. And that night was the hardest night. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I was just straight crying to the point there was just no tears, and then what was hurting me a lot, we got put up in a big hotel, like the whole level was booked out for our whānau and close friends of Sean, and I remember just looking at his whānau and just feeling so much mamae for them. Sean's mum, Catherine, and Sean's dad, Pete, his brothers, Gareth and Lukey, and sisters, Whitney and Carla. Seeing his nephews there, like, I lost my husband. But you should never in this life have to bury your own child. And I have so much love and awhi for, Catherine and Pete, because they are one of the strongest whānau that I know. 100%. And, you could see why Sean loved them so much. And this whānau welcomed me and Arahia with open arms from the day that Sean had introduced me to this beautiful whānau. And I'm so grateful that I walked this journey alongside them, and you could see why they had such a close and beautiful bond. And I'm so grateful to Sean for allowing this beautiful whānau into my whānau's life too, because, especially Shawnee's mum is always down by us, and so grateful for that. But, you know, when I think about, you know, Pete as well, always wanting to come to Kauriki's games, and Lukey and Whitney and Gareth, you know, taking them on camping trips, and, you know, but also wrapping their arms around Arahia. And I'm so grateful for them. But, you know, in that moment, I was just looking at them like, no whānau should ever have to go through this and lose their son and their brother. And despite my own grief, because it was so overwhelming at the time, you know, looking at a whānau that had lost someone that they had known him a lot longer than I had. There were so many memories and love and connection there, and they are the whānau that grew him into the man that he was today, until I met him, you know. And why I fell in love with this man is because this whānau raised him to be this beautiful, humble, caring, loving man. And I really want to acknowledge, you know, his whānau, because they have done incredibly well. Incredibly well. No one knows how to navigate grief. Hell no. But in that moment, man, they had it. They were rock solid. And it was okay to fall apart. It was so okay to fall apart, but they were amazing. That first night was, incredibly tough. I mean, we were, you know, just so many people in and out, and I couldn't sleep. I was just not even there.
I think I remember as well, me and Tay were there for most of the night. Mainly like holding your hand and stuff through it, and I think that was definitely, like I touched on it before, but it didn't really hit me until that night that we spent with you, and the cries that you did, and the things that you were saying. When you see someone you love so much go through so much pain and not be able to do anything to help, you just had to sit there, was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And I think Taya can agree with that too. I'm so glad that Taya was there. We could kind of share it. I think we kind of
we had to walk out of the room a couple of times just to have a moment, because what good is it if we're just crying in your face, you know? Like, it's hard, and you feel really powerless. There's nothing you could say, there's nothing you could do. All we knew was that we just needed to be near you. We just needed to be around you,
hold space,
and let you just do what you needed to do. But it was difficult. But we could feel your pain. But not obviously to the full degree.
Sorry. No, you have it. I'm good.
Tissues are out.
I think I remember, which I think when you think about traumatic times and you just in so much pain, you just don't think you're going to be good, you know, in this life. You like, how am I going to live on, is really the reaction. And I remember screaming and saying, like, I can't do this, like, I can't do this. But I remember closing my eyes in those moments where I was on my knees to Dad's. I can't do this, like, I don't want to be here. I want to go by him. And I remember I was closing my eyes, and all I could see was me reaching up for Shawnee. Like, I was literally, like, reaching up for him. And then I had my beautiful babies on the ground, like, pulling me back down, anchoring me back down to earth, grounding me, going, no, Mummy, you're staying. And I remember opening my eyes, going, my love for them is stronger. And Sean would want that. But in that moment, I think it's very raw and real to say that I couldn't see life without him.
That's how you're feeling.
I couldn't. But I knew that my babies were anchoring me back down to this earth, and that's why I always refer to them as my anchors on this earth, because in that moment, my babies truly saved me. And I've harnessed that energy to this day. Everything that I do for them. Yeah. God damn. God damn, that's heavy. That is heavy. But I think I feel real healing through that, and yeah, and I feel lighter revisiting that day, because I don't ever revisit that day, but I think, you know, there's strength and vulnerability in being raw and honest about those initial moments after Shawnee had passed. And, you know, when we moved to dress him, it was kind of funny.
Oh, are we going to share this story?
No, we're not. No. Just how he couldn't fit.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say.
He was dressed. I wanted this. Yes, I wanted this beautiful, like, Māori carved casket. Yeah, it was like beautiful.
Okay.
And, you know, they came out, they said, Paige, you can't fit. And I, what do you mean? What do you mean you can't fit? Make him fit.
They didn't have one big enough.
I want him in this. I want him in this. I want him to have the best, you know, like,
he'd want this.
Yeah, he'll want this. He'll want this. And it's kind of funny. I also dressed him in our wedding suit, but I actually think he preferred his Swanee. And I'm sorry, babe. Swanee and bare feet. No, he was in bare feet. I don't know. But
Anyway,
he wasn't bare feet.
when we tried to dress him, we had to get help.
Yeah. No, he was too tall for the casket that I wanted. And, well, because of his dreads. And I remember I had to, we're like, you have to cut him off. I was like, no, I'm not cutting off. No, that's tapu. You're not going to do that. So we got him another coffin, which was beautiful. And well, you know what? In that moment, you're thinking, what the am I doing? I'm picking out a casket for my husband. Honestly, you wouldn't read about it. If you don't laugh, you cry. And that's been the story of my life.
Yeah, that's literally your saying.
You don't laugh, you'll cry. But yeah, and then those movements were just really me just one second by second.
Existing,
just existing. And then we moved to his tangi. And I don't want to touch too much on his tangi, because I feel like everyone sort of knows what goes on tangi. And it was a beautiful send-off, despite it being the most traumatic experience of my life in terms of what the hell am I doing here? What is happening? And I don't believe I was actually there. It was an out-of-body experience for me. And I just wouldn't leave his side. And I wouldn't eat. I didn't drink. And I would not leave his side. That's where I felt safest, though. That was my comfort. He was my comfort, and my whānau around me, and his whānau, and my babies, you know. But I was also very mindful that I didn't want to traumatize my babies anymore, because mummy was not okay, and I didn't want them to feel all the mamai, because I feel like kids pick up your own energy as mothers, and I know they were feeling it to some degree, but I'm just so grateful for my family, and, you know, and knowing that they had people to go to, and that there were other kids around to help, you know, keep them busy and happy. So I didn't have to worry about them, but I remember just grabbing them and hugging them for comfort, just to give mummy the strength to keep going. And then I'd release them and let them go and do what they need to do. But that was sort of the thing where I didn't want them to always be around me, just enough so that I could give them inner strength. But at the same time, I had nothing. But still, they were giving me more strength than anything. You know? Yeah. It was a beautiful send-off. And I thank everybody that was there that facilitated that beautiful tangi and a send-off that he would be so proud of. And the main thing for me was that he was back home in his happy place. That was where he was meant to be. Yes, it's sad that he's 5 hours away from us, but that's his home. That's his awa, that is his marae, that's his whakapapa, that's where his whānau lay. And he was always so proud of where he came from, Wharaturu. And what a beautiful spot he's at. You know, it's hard leaving him. It's hard being, you know, a long way, 4 or 5 hours away from him. But at the same time, he's with us. You know, he's wherever we go, he's there. And I think those who follow my journey know that he's on the Disney cruise ship. He's given us signs through the clouds. We're in Fiji. He's giving us monarchs, so, you know, out of the nice infinity pool. You know, he makes it very, very known, and he's got a lot of kaha on the other side, I believe. You know, that he gives us that strength, and he's guiding our path and navigating this beautiful new life for us. And I've always said, you know, it's not about moving on, it's about moving forward. Period. We're never going to move on from this. We're only going to move forward and make him damn proud. And yeah, I think, you know, I kind of blacked the tangi out, like I wasn't really there. Like I was just surviving. And that's where I say survival is, that's when you don't know how strong you are until being strong is the only option that you have. And I 100% stand by that, you know, and strength is literally minute by minute, day by day. Essentially, survival is strength. Anyone who knows who has buried their loved one in that moment, as they get lowered, it's just like a pain, an unimaginable pain beyond anything that you have ever experienced. But I believe with that pain, you know, where there is immense love, there's immense grief, you know, and if you've loved something so much that there is that grief and pain that you feel for your loved one, and it is a part of life eventually, you know. It is sad to say, whether we love to admit it or not, whether we like to admit it or not, we will lose someone that we love in this life. And until you see someone that you love being buried like that, it's a pain that you can't even describe to anyone. And I don't wish this pain on nobody. But I think the real positive thing when I reflect back on the tangi was being able to receive my mokowhiti from the same moko artist that did Shawnee's as well. So it felt so right. It felt beautiful, and I really appreciate him and his beautiful whānau for travelling down to do that in his marae. And I remember getting it done, and I remember thinking, like, you know, him explaining, you know, it is mamae, it is sore, and I remember being surrounded by my sisters and friends, and I was like, oh yeah, no, like I remember just going, just don't. And I remember he kept warning me, like, it's really sore in here for women, just letting you know. And I'm like, just go, please, just. And I remember he did it, and I was like, are you gonna start? He's like, no, we've been going. I was like, oh, and that just goes to show you that the amount of emotional and mental pain and that turmoil I was going through, that actually it numbed everything, and the pain was actually keep going. I actually preferred that because it was a distraction from the overwhelming pain that I was feeling in my head at the time. So I really enjoyed that experience, actually, to be fair. And it gave purpose and meaning, and I had, you know, was surrounded by all my friends and whānau, and it was a beautiful moment. So if anything I take away from that, it was, is my mokowhiti, and I will carry him with me forever. And the mokowhiti really represents our marriage, our love, and our beautiful tamariki. And he got one, I think a few months or like after our wedding, a few months after our wedding, he got his mokowhiti done. Also as a way, because he plays rugby, that, he can't wear rings, but he's as you can tell, my hubby had tats everywhere, which is also why I loved him, because he was, loved his tāmoko, and he's very proud of who he was, who he is, and where he came from. And he, being Māori to him and being proud to be Māori was incredibly important to Shawnee, and he stood so staunch in his mana. And yeah, so I will always carry him with me wherever, with me forever. And it was, so that was a positive out of the tangi. Upon just burying my husband and being in our own bubble, and we were cut off from all actually reception, we're in wharaturu. But then the outside noise set in. And I've never openly spoken about this, purely for the fact that when it's not true, why would you want to give it energy? Why would you want to give it energy at all, really? But at the same time, I think it's important to revisit that, because it was at a point where I was at my lowest in my life. I was incredibly vulnerable. And then hearing that these accusations, false accusations, rumours are going around and being spread around like wildfire. I want people to know in that moment, when people and whānau are grieving someone they deeply care about, and then they hear this shit, it's like, it's incredibly hurtful, because we knew the Sean Wainui. His best friends knew, his whānau knew, I knew, and what you saw with Shawnee is what you got. But again, I think it's important for me to, acknowledge that time, because it was a part of the journey. But I also want to acknowledge it because I knew his mana meant everything to him. He stood so strongly in his mana and was very proud of who he was. And I felt as an obligation as his wife to uphold his mana, even though he wasn't here to do it for himself. But actually, as time has gone on, I've realized that I don't need to do that, because his mana will always stay intact no matter what I do. He left his own legacy here and his own memory, and touched so many people and impacted a lot of people, that as his wife, I'm there from the sidelines clapping and cheering him on, because he left such a beautiful imprint on this earth, for me to even have to respond to that. And I honestly believe if you open that door for people, you've just given them access to your own energy. And my hubby used to always say, you could read 1,000 beautiful comments and then would come across this one negative and, hurtful comment, and it overshadows the positive, because it does leave an impact on you. Oh, why does that person think that? And when I think about it, I don't want to give that energy, because I know my truth and I stand staunch in it too. Everybody that is very close to him knew the man that, Shawnee was. And again, just wanted to acknowledge that and then move forward with it, because I think it's important. It's part of the journey. I'm not going to sit here and just ignore the fact that that was really hurtful to not only myself, but the whānau as well. But that was only at that moment. After that, we kind of moved forward with it and kind of forgot about it, really, and just focused on the good and the memories. And yeah, but yeah.
It's a big DF to that.
Oh, it was just irrelevant. We had other things to be.
Wow.
Yeah,
You know,
that's it.
It was.
I didn't go
priority.
busting in the room. Hey, Paige, did you see this?
Yeah,
Are you serious? Is that true?
yeah.
Oh, it felt like there was something every day.
It's like every day, you know.
It was
It's like,
something new every day.
yeah.
It's like we just shut it out.
Yeah, exactly.
And we just focused on what we needed to do in that moment.
yeah,
And we just got on with it, really.
It's amazing what people can come up with.
yeah. I know.
It's amazing.
It is.
If they use their brain into something else, and actually, man, that'd be amazing at something else. But hey, kia ora.
Hey,
Tēnā tātou katoa te ia tau.
I gotta give it. Gotta give props because, it takes a lot of energy, doesn't it, to really put that out there and
To edit, find a photo.
But yeah,
Write the caption.
Even the captions are hard. I find it hard to write
Caption is
captions.
deep.
it is.
5 minutes of fame, God.
Oh, aroha mai.
People ain't, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
But again,
Man.
but there's so much, positive things to, reflect back on in the next episode, and I think some nice light and uplifting korero because I'm feeling it's been a bit heavy. And, if you're with us, thank you for being along and holding space for myself and my whānau to speak about this because it isn't easy. But, hopefully the next episode will give a lot of more light and perspective and tools, really to help you move through your own grief as well as a supportive whānau, a friend through grief. And I know that sitting here today, my purpose is really to help uplift and heal people. And I know Shawnee and I are still a team. And I know that the impact and legacy he left for people here, I only want to live that out. And I know that there's a purpose for me to still be here, and I'm going to fulfill that no matter what that looks like, if it's this, if it's not, kei te pai. But I think this is a move in the right direction in order for me to move forward in my healing and help heal others. So thank you for being with us on this episode and holding space because I know it was a heavy one.
You did it. Well done, sis. Well done.
Thank you.
I don't know if that mics on the mics, but I just needed a clap.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So with that, we'll close out the episode 3. Jade, do you want to do karakia? No.
Jade, stand up to karakia.
Jade is actually our designated karakia and waiata lady. When we're in those.
So I am terrible at singing.
No, don't talk to yourself like that. You talk about boost yourself up, girl. But yeah, I think the next episode will be quite cool, won't it? Just moving forward now, and thank you guys for being here. And I say it every episode. Put the tissue away.
Good, we good, fam.
Good. So with that, we'll see you guys in episode 4. Ka kite.